Good evening and welcome to a new season, the first Matchday Preview Show. Feels such a long time since obviously just coming out with these shows. I'm pleased to be speaking with three fellas, Gooners from all over. Obviously, Mark up in Scotland.
Big up, bro. Thanks for having me on. I'm good, bro, and thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, that's good. And Terry and Tim,
hello,
brothers in arms. So it's been a long time since obviously I spoke with you. Certainly, you, Terry. Tim, I've had a couple of shows with you.
Yeah, very good.
Previously. So yeah, no, it's good. It's good to kind of connect again and obviously start delving in and around Arsenal. Where do we begin? There's so much, Mark. We could suddenly start going into the latter part of the season last season, but that's gone down the river now. We've seen that now. We don't need to chuck it all down there. We were so close, and yeah, fine margins. One win. West Ham, as we spoke about. I think that was the game. 30 odd chances, but yeah, it is what it is. It's football. So that's where we've come a cropper. We're up against the juggernaut, aren't we? On that side. But yeah, I think this pre-season's come around pretty quickly. I don't know about you, obviously from the Euros, and I went out to Munich for the final.
Pretty good.
And then suddenly come back and it's just like, it's like everyone's back at pre-season. It's just like it's happening again. And yeah, I don't know. A trip to America. I think we prepared fairly well. We've brought in Calafiori, he had a decent tournament, didn't he? I say, Mark, I might as well go to you about Calafiori before we go into the game. Obviously, he's our only signing, I think, still, isn't he? I think we've
Ria as well. If you're not including Ria.
Yes, yeah. So what are your thoughts on him?
It's actually interesting because I've kind of changed my mind over the period when we got him. We've got the best defence in the league, and we're strengthening it. And then I broke it down, and it's like we've got 2 brilliant goalkeepers, and we've got 8 brilliant defenders, and we've still got the likes of, no disrespect to my countrymen, but Kieran Tierney could go, have to be sold, etc. But we've almost now got 2 banks of defence, so our defence looks solid. It looks like there's not a drop off, if you know what I mean, Paul. So if Saliba went out for the game, we've got a choice. We could have Tommy Asu there. We could have Timber playing there. Same if Gabriel goes out, you've still got Calafiori, you've got Calafiori, we've got Zinchenko. So we've got real depth there for me. So that's exciting, really exciting. And his debut, I think he'll take a while to settle in, but I'm excited. I'm excited for him. I just hope that we could do more in the midfield and also attacking areas. I think we all know that's what we need. But yeah, I'm confident of what Arteta's done at the back so far. So it's just now, Edu, please give us the tools in midfield and up front, please. I beg you.
Yeah, I think it's never simple. I think in this, certainly in these times where you obviously identify your targets. You're trying to get the best deal. You're trying to get the right players. Clubs still kind of maybe a little bit dubious about selling certain players because they've still got to get their kind of replacements. This is why I say I don't think it's cut and dried. Certainly when we suddenly say, right, can we do business early? Can we get it done? It can't always be done early. But you look at the international break and players going away on holiday. It's totally messed it up where you suddenly think, well, these players have been away on holiday, and you then suddenly go away with pre-season. It's not as clear cut as what you got. I think Marino, looks like it's nearly over the line. I think that's a big is Marino, isn't it?
Yeah, it is,
yeah. So from Real Sociedad, I think. He had a decent tournament as well. Looks an interesting one, certainly for the midfield side. And we go into the long-standing issue of the striker. I think I can remember having a conversation with you, Terry, all those years back, where we were kind of probably still talking about this situation. And I think the last time we were talking about, I think it was when Nketiah signed his contract. And I don't know if you remember, I was saying, all right, we've signed him for 5 years. We'll give him 2 years to prove himself. And then if it doesn't work out, we've got 3 years or 2 years left to get value for him. We're looking like we potentially might have a 25-30 million pounds. Well, would it say battle? I don't know. Marseille don't want to pay the money, and they've obviously gone and signed someone else. But there could. Because they've just signed the guy from Porto, isn't he? Emilson, is he?
Yeah, that's right.
I think that's it. Yeah, I think they've just got him. So I don't think we're going to get anyone in striker position until maybe he does actually go.
I can remember the last time we spoke about it. I mean, I remember Eddie Nketiah about 3 or 4 seasons ago. We played Sunderland at home in the league, and he scored, I think it was a brace or possibly a hat trick. And I remember thinking at the time that's Eddie's level. He's not at Premiership level, and he flatters to deceive, I think is the famous phrase. Yeah. And then when he has a half decent streak, that's the time to sort of sell him. And we basically, it's not just us fans who can see it. Obviously, other clubs can see it. He is not a top striker. He's fast, but he's not, if you like, the kind of guy that is going to spring a goal out of nowhere. I mean, if you compare him to, say, Trossard, who's a real striker, you know, small guy, turns on a box, always got an eye for goal. You know, Eddie Nketiah might have the pace, but all the other things that are part of a striker's weaponry and accoutrements, he just hasn't got that elite level, you know. And I would worry if we're going into the new season without an addition there. I think Havertz is a bit of a conundrum. Neither Germany nor Arsenal nor Chelsea or any opposition that we played against can work out if he's a number 8 or a number 9 or a number 10 or where is he. He's got. I did hear talking about Havertz. I did see a coach talking about him, and he takes an awful lot of time to sort of strike the ball. He almost telegraphs it so that everybody knows what he's going to do. He doesn't have that short back lift and a snappy shot on him, you know. As Mark was saying, we've got a phenomenal defence and back line. People might remember in the George Graham era, George Graham kept buying centre backs. Every time a centre back appeared available, he went out and bought him. We had a team of centre backs, and Andy Linegan, you might remember, scoring the winning goal in that Sheffield United FA Cup final replay, and that was the first and last thing that Andy did. You know, and we're constantly buying these massive centre backs, and And Zinny's still there.
Yeah.
Zinny, who is pretty average fullback, but a fairly decent midfield player, is still there. I like Kevin Tierney, not just because we've got a Scottish lad on the show. I've always had a soft spot for Tierney, but he does get injured a lot. I suppose that's always the query about him. And whether or not his fullback style suits Arteta, I don't think it does. I think he likes to stretch his multitude of centre backs across the pitch, ideally 3 there, and then he can overload the sort of midfield. And I don't know where Tierney fits into that, but I thought Tierney was a good buy at the time. He was pulling up trees for Celtic, and he's a cracking player. But whether he's interested because he's coming back from yet another injury. But they've got him on the Arsenal website. I don't know if anybody saw today, they had David Raya was talking about the coming season on the Arsenal website. And he said, to beat Man City, we're going to have to, this campaign ahead, we're going to have to be nearly perfect. Dropping a lot of points, and it's not going to happen. We've got to be nearly perfect.
And actually, just to get into that, ultimately, last year, Man City, because they won it, and more luck to them. Although there's 115 reasons maybe why they won it, but anyway, they let's say that win, they had a very, very poor season against the top teams, the teams that were also challenging, be it Liverpool, top 6, I think, even the top. But they were cute. They were good enough that when they played Fulham and when they played West Ham, or we'll say Wolves being the upcoming example for Arsenal tomorrow or for Salah, that they won those matches. They made sure they were winning those matches. Yeah. And I think, and Terry, I think makes a very valid point there, in that Eddie Nketiah and maybe Reece Nelson and there's kind of other lads there around us, Joe, that those type of players, that if Saka has to be rested, or indeed, it's amazing he hasn't got a bad injury at the moment, or if Havertz is having a little bit of an offset, that those players coming in have to be capable of getting a winner against those mid-table teams that are maybe, Joe, they come with the intention of sneaking a point or getting a goal on the break, that you have to be sure that, look, I have a plan B here, that we're going to maybe even launch that from the bench. And go back to what's called this. I don't know when it into secret. Declan Rice is not held in particularly high regard in Ireland because of a but anyway,
why not?
He played with the green jersey for I don't know how many matches, and then he took the King's shilling.
Yeah. Well, this you don't have to go too far in the interest to find pictures of Declan Rice, Jack Grealish, and Jude Bellingham all in Irish jerseys. So let's just say the support in the All Euros wasn't entirely offering. But go back to. But I heard one guy analysing Declan Rice now, because let's be honest, I think Jude Bellingham did all right, but someone made the point that even though obviously Phil Foden was the one that really got he really looked like he had the glue to play football after he left Man City and went to England. But people said that even Declan Rice, who had he had a good season with Arsenal last year, like that Jorginho, when he was taken away from beside him, he didn't look as good either like that. Now, look, it's very easy to say, Joe, these combinations, and maybe like it says, the Irish audience might have been fairly hypercritical anyway, but there's definitely that combinations in midfield and having players that are kind of greater than the sum of their parts is this whole thing. We don't have a striker, but we have Odegaard went through a stage there last season, where he was just. I remember saying at one stage on our own show that Odegaard was possibly the best attacking midfielder in Europe at one stage. He was going so great there, kind of maybe April time, that kind of maybe March, and but that's all right. You'd still prefer to have a centre forward that's going to get you. I saw Dominic Solanke, all these type of players, Ivan Toney, these guys, that Ollie Watkins, that are going to get you the 20 goals. You're expecting Odegaard or expecting someone else to Trossard, expecting guys to perform miracles. That's not a policy, you know what I mean? That's a short-term fix, and that would be my biggest concern going forward, is that they're going to go back completely, kind of really just double down on what they've been doing for the last 2 seasons. Now, like I said, I'm not that terrible critical of Arteta. I'm not as bad. I know a lot of other people that would be a lot more critical of him anyway. But I do believe that maybe it's time he took a small step back and realized, no, is this really this plan of kind of... Do you remember the stage last year he had, we have 35 formations or something. He used the example of driving to work and how he was getting all these different traffic lights and he'd go left and right and he was kind of saying, oh yeah, well, we have a multitude of formations that we can play in a match. And I think I'm right to that.
You did. He kept on about so many formations.
Yeah. And he was, I think he was, it was like, to me, that seemed like a coach suffering from a bit, the ego had kind of taken over a bit, was my feeling at the time. But look, like I said, I still think he's a very good coach and he could be the man to get the job done. So sorry there, Paul, for going on a bit.
No, that's fine. No, as I said, I think that's it on nail on the head. Really, look, we've got to look to move on and push on because again, we have to evolve. We have to move on. We've released players. Obviously, Emil Smith-Rowe moving on as well. It's one of those bittersweet kind of decisions, really. Loved him to have done well. But as I said, for him, he needed to play. He needed the game time. And he probably needs just the taken away from the limelight as such, from being at a real big kind of club, like a deer in the headlights, kind of trying to prove yourself with fitness and everything like that. And you're not getting the breaks. It's the same with Tierney. Like you said, in the end of the day, you're getting no kind of breaks. When you get a kind of moment where you kind of move on, it goes again. I think there's going to be some good stuff coming on before the end of the window. Anyway, I think we will get someone in. It's just obviously depend on who we can get in for the right time. I don't think we're going to get Tony. I don't think. I'm not sure we're going to. I don't even know where he's going to go now. I think they're talking about Saudi Arabia. I think that the last thing they were on about for him. But I don't know. We'll have to see. But let's turn our heads to Saturday. And I'm quite gutted actually because I'm away. I've had to give my season ticket to my brother, so my wife is not in the good books. For booking it, considering I gave her the first 8 games to put in her diary, and she stitched me up. So I thought about divorce. I thought it might be easy just to ride it and see. So I'm going to be cheering from a bar somewhere. I think that's the best thing. But what's everyone's thoughts on it? I'm looking at you, Mark. First of all, obviously, Wolves have had a couple of real kind of curveballs shoved at them for before the start of the season, haven't they? Obviously, lost two big players from Kilman and. What's his name?
Neto.
Yeah. So, they've raked in about just over £100 million, and they've not particularly got anyone in, bar Rodrigo Gomez. I think it was just like signing from Braga or something like that, and then they picked up another kind of striker from Spain. I think for like $3 million. That looks like it's going to be leading the line for him. What are your thoughts? I know they got Cunha, who was their top scorer, but
I think they've struggled, Paul. I really think they've struggled this year. I'm predicting that they'll be around the relegation. I wouldn't say they'll go down, but I think they're going to be in that kind of bracket. They didn't have just losing the big players, and as you said, they've not really brought anyone in of any kind of quality. So, just for me, I can see this being a big result on Saturday for Arsenal, if I'm being honest. And I think Wales are going to have a really terrible season. I really do. I really do. I don't know what you think, but it's just losing two big players like Kilman and Neto is just. I know they went a large period of the season last season where Neto was injured, but still, he's still massive. He's a massive player for them. So, yeah, for me, I just think that they're really going to badly struggle. But I could just see them staying up. But they will be hovering around that area, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's one of those where there's probably more poorer teams that are not really street cred in the Premier League to save them. They had a poor season last year, in all honesty. But yeah, to chuck that in as well, without potentially replacing anyone as well, certainly with quality. I don't know. Terry, it's obviously a must-win.
Yeah, I've been to many first matches of the season. I remember we beat Spurs away once, but I also remember one a long time ago when we played Mickey Quinn's...
what country?
Was it Coventry? Or Bristol City, who just come up from the Division 2, and he scored a hat-trick, and he was carrying some weight. He was about 15 or 16 stone. And we all took it easy. We thought, this team's only just come up, and he scored one and he scored two. I remember being in the North Bank that day, and I thought, look at the size of this guy. He's surely not going to get a hat trick. And he goes and scores a hat trick. I think we lost 3-1. So first matches of the season,
very tricky.
You have to be careful. I mean, obviously, Gary O'Neill is an up and coming manager. So I would be reminding the team before they go out that these games, the first match of the season, very, very tough to call. No team's quite into the groove. The main thing is for Arsenal, score the first goal, keep it tight, don't let in a goal, and then hopefully the opposition's heads will go down. But no match in the Premier League is guaranteed, and the first matches of the season are tricky, very tricky.
Yeah, very much. And I think just about Mickey Quinn before we go away, I just loved it. One time he was kind of, I'd say, the last part of his career, he was with Coventry anyway, and he kind of hit a rich vein of form, and of course, his physique was always kind of questioned a bit. He wasn't he definitely wasn't in the Arsene Wenger kind of holistic living lifestyle anyway. And but he said some commentator, I'd say it was Times Sky kind of they used to have all these pundits, they were really looking for someone to interview, and Mickey anyway. So one of the pundits asked him Mickey, you're going to do something about your fitness, and he said, I'm the fastest striker in this league over a yard, he said. So he reckoned he wasn't into these 20-meter sprints or anything. It was 1 yard. That was it. But
he's a proper character.
He was some bio. But come back to Wolves, like Eman Kilman is a big loss, and they come. But the problem is, as a Shankly, one of I remember the old Liverpool managers used to always say, the first 6 rounds are just a lottery, a complete lottery. You can lose a goal. And I remember last year, Arteta, for the first match and maybe the first 2 matches, he dropped Gabriel. He was playing Saliba, and I forget who was the other centre half at the time. And I was wondering, when I hear this guy coming from Italy, Calafiori, whose name I'm murdering, by the way. But anyway, we'll get used to it as the year goes by. But Joe, I wonder is that I'm just very interested to see what the back 4 will be, and then what's going to be are they going to be come out of the traps early, get their kind of get kind of, as Terry says, get a goal, be going in at half time 1-0 up, be kind of consolidating that victory early in the second half and moving forward, because that's what kind of the momentum they need to have this year. They need to kind of say, well, this is not a team that we are. We're not going to give it away. We're not going to drop it easy points in August. We want to get some. And like you say, Neto, I think Neto, and you were a big fan of his, I remember.
I love Neto.
Yeah, he told you, brilliant player.
Tim, our first few matches are tough.
Oh, yeah.
We've got Villa away, if I remember rightly.
Right,
And is it City away?
Yeah, and we've Portugal as well, because we've started our own show in September, and we usually start with North London Derby, and the North London Derby is something like the 13th of September.
Yeah.
So now the only thing is, look, we keep the topic on maybe for the match, but like that Spurs could actually be better this season if Richard and like. Suppose the end is better on his second season and all this type of stuff. But sorry, go back to the Arsenal team anyway. But I think Arsenal, like, it's a very, very important match that they get a win and build up a bit of confidence in the support base and say, look, we're moving forward. And like I said, the main thing I'll be looking at is how the defence lines up and who are in that defence.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think obviously I don't think it's going to be the. Not so much. It wasn't a circus as such at the start of last season, but there was a bid from Saudi for Gabriel, which obviously it came out later on in the season. Which, I think he wanted to kind of keep him out of the limelight until he had his head sorted and whatever, and then straight as soon as it was sorted and done, he was back in. I think it's pretty nailed on what it's going to be. I think to start the season.
It'll be Ray and goal, obviously. Anyway, will it? Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the back four, White.
I'm still going. I'm going Zinchenko to start on the left. I'm going Gabriel, Saliba, and then Ben White on the right. Obviously, not having Tomiyasu there injured, and it's going to be too early for Timber. I think Timber can't be risked on this game, but he's near a must for Villa Park the next game.
Yeah. But I still think Paul, that left back spot, I don't know, we really haven't sorted it, you know. Zinni's a good like a midfielder, left-sided midfielder, but he's not a great left back. And if we're going to try and get off to a flying start, teams are going to attack us down that area, you know.
Yeah, no, I think what you find, because obviously when the inception first started and it looked good and it was people were struggling to kind of come to terms with it, and suddenly it was a little bit new, but people weren't really thinking we would kind of play that way, and it started off pretty well, but when teams then started going back the other way and turning them round and getting wide on that side, then you suddenly saw those kind of problems. But again, I think it comes down to who you're playing. When you're in a game where you're trying to dictate and keep possession of the ball and dominate the ball, that kind of scenario is key, I think, in that side. And then when obviously the other defenders can then stretch out and then act as the cover, then I think it's fine. It's then when you then get the ones that are like looking for the counter attack and stuff where they kind of pickpocket us, and we got caught a few times last season. Not many, but as I say, those games where it did actually hurt us. I think the worst game of last season was that Fulham game. Away, and that was the only game where you could suddenly say we suddenly slipped into yesteryear. Every other performance was like a top performance, and that's where you look at it and you suddenly think, well, 37 games we played really well, and that one game just what wasn't Arsenal. But going back to your defenders thing. Abdul Hadi said, all these defenders and half of them are injury prone. Tierney, Zinni, Tomiyasu, and maybe Timber. Look,
I'd agree with all that,
You have to manage them. I think that's what it comes down to. You have to manage them, and Zinchenko for me could play against the bottom, as you say. You could play against the bottom half the week throughout the season, and when we play like the top, certainly the top 6 games, that's maybe where you bring in a Calafiori or if Timber's fit, you would bring in Timber, or even Tomiyasu. I mean, there is options there. 100%. So we have injury prone players, but so do Man City, so do other clubs, but they seem to be able to manage them. what we do or have had to do is play them week in, week out. They go down, and then we're throwing someone in that's not the same kind of massive drop off. So for me, it's we have to rotate the amount of games that Zinchenko's playing, Tomiyasu's playing. Tierney won't play any. I think I'll end up back at Celtic before the end of the transfer window. Everyone do believe that. I think Tierney will be back at Celtic, so we don't have to worry about that. But it is about managing these injuries, in my opinion. Same as Thomas Partey in midfield. He's another one. If we're going to win the league, we need Thomas Partey, and he cannot play week in, week out. So again, this is where J20 come in and do the balance with him for doing it. So I guess the injury-prone players, it is about management.
Yeah. And actually, go back to Zinchenko. Sorry, Paul, but you remember there at the Bet United? I think I Bet United at Old Trafford one time, and there was the first very early on when this Zinchenko experiment started. But like, he did look unbelievable in that midfield role when he slotted in. Like, I remember, like, there were it was about 15 minutes to go, and he was kind of the third, we'll say, central midfielder, and by God, he really nailed the Man United defence back to, like, he really looked well. But like, as I says, like, one time Rory Delap used to play for Ireland, and I had to support off Irish team at the time anyway. But someone said he was brilliant. He was brilliant at the sideline throws. Yeah. Someone said the best footballer we have is the guy that throws the ball in. So it's a bit like that. The best fullback we have is the guy that plays central midfield.
And you know what? And funny enough, he's a lovely midfielder.
Well, he is, yeah, brilliant.
He actually reminds me, thinking of Mark there from Scotland, we had a guy back in, was it the 70s? Alex Cropley, we bought from Hibernian. And he was a left-footed midfield player. Lovely player, really nice player. I'm going to ask Mark, do you, up in Scotland, do you have any good centre forwards that Arsenal might be considering looking at?
Absolutely not. In Scotland, there is not one player in the whole of Scotland that is getting anywhere near this Arsenal side. Not even one. I'm telling you, don't even go there. No way. Absolutely no way.
What's happened to all them great Scottish players that used to come south of the border? Peter Marinello and
Dalglish and all the rest of it. I know. The standards dropped off massively up in Scotland. I guess I'll be saying in Ireland as well. All the money's in the Premier League, so you just don't create players like that anymore. I fall asleep if I watch a game in Scotland. I just cannot do it. It's horrendous. The standard's poor.
Is it?
That's a shame.
Yeah, that's amazing, like, really. Because, but obviously, would Celtic and Rangers, I know we're going to wait for the topic here for a minute, but our Celtic and Rangers would be a mile ahead of everyone else.
Well, they are, but Rangers are absolutely rubbish as well. They went out to the Champions League in qualifier, the first round qualifying. Who was it against? Oh, man, it's a Ukraine side. Can't remember, but they went out in midweek, first round. Absolutely, they look hopeless. Honestly. So yeah, the standard up here isn't good. So nobody from Scotland getting. There's nobody from Scotland going anywhere near this Arsenal side. That's for sure.
That's a shame, isn't it? When you think there was Andy Gray came down and did wonders for Villa and Everton. What the hell's happened? They've just given up.
All the money's in England. That's bottom line.
Yeah, when you think of it, back in the day, it probably was like very level, wasn't it? It was a level field, and then all of a sudden, the boom of the Premier League suddenly just made that just like an total inferior kind of product, wasn't it? And
I remember a time in the 80s where the riots in England got them banned from Europe. I think it was for about a 3 or 4 year period. It must have been the late 80s because I'm not that old, promise.
Yes, it was after the 86. It was after the Heysel Stadium.
Was it? Yeah. So they had the ban then, and at that given point, I would have said that there was teams in the Scottish Premiership that would have handled being in the English Premiership. They would have. I'm not saying they would have went on and won the league, but they would have been there or around.
Yeah, mid-table.
100%. Yeah. See now, Celtic and Rangers would probably get relegated from the Championship.
Yeah, And
I'm being serious. Honestly, I'm being serious.
I agree with you 100%. But the most amazing thing we noticed last year in our own thing, and we were discussing it, is that Crystal Palace, right? Your man Glasner that came in there, and he was a good manager. Like he was like a top manager, and he could have got a lot of good clubs. And like he came to Crystal Palace. Now I don't want to be too derogatory about Crystal Palace, but like Crystal Palace are not going to be challenging for the Premier League. But the money is so big in England that it's worth his while. And like he had these players, he really got a great bounce out of them. Now whether he'd be able to carry it on this season is questionable. But to see that, like you say, the money is so big. Come to England, get a short-term contract. It's like it's economics at the end of the day. Better than maybe a mid-table or even top kind of challenge in Germany or something.
I think that's it. I mean, I think when Kieran Tierney left Celtic to go to Arsenal, he was on something like 15 grand a week. And I think, was he on at Arsenal, 75? So it kind of shows, and that isn't even a high wage for Arsenal. Let's face it, Eddie Nketiah is on 100k a week. So it just shows it's like there's no money in Scotland whatsoever.
Paul, just sorry, but it's funny. Mark mentions Eddie Nketiah there, but like when he was being flouted as the next kind of Ian Wright, except it obviously didn't happen. But like, is there a belief, like I think you said there earlier, that he's worth 25 million?
There is with the value, and you're looking at player value, and you're still talking about a player that's under contract. He's English, he's young, and he'll be an exciting player for a team that may be trying to strive to kind of stay up. It might be worth a gamble. Wolves, I looked at Brentford. I looked at, and again, it was all dominoes. It's the domino effect that someone gets sold. The same with Bournemouth. I think that was a natural kind of thing where you're suddenly thinking, well, if an attacker goes, I mean, Bournemouth have just spent 48 million on this other Brazilian, so the money was obviously there to go and spend on a striker. But they've obviously chose him.
And also, when Eddie Nketiah eventually goes, he's going to want to bring his current salary with him. He's not going to want to start a new club on a lower salary. So when they're thinking of buying players, they've got to look at the salary. They've got to look at the fee. I know they amortize it over the sort of length of the contract, which is why Chelsea offer people 9-year contracts, which is absolutely nuts, But I would have got rid of Eddie Nketiah a long time ago, and I'm sure I wasn't the only one to say he's a good player, but he's not at the top level, And
your man Reece Nelson as well, like. My biggest concern for Arsenal is let's say they go with Havertz and he does have a reasonably good, because he wasn't bad now, and like he was good enough for Germany and all that. So he was a good enough player. But like my biggest concern is that they have Saka there, and like they're flogging him to death. Like they're overdoing. I mean, they really should have a solid replacement for him picked up, and that should be it. Like there should be kind of a case of, well, we're going to keep him for Champions League matches. It's a big match. We're going to have a resting kind of a much more kind of a adopt a kind of a. So they've all these sports scientists now. They've all these data and analysis that really they should know. Like we need him to be playing well next March. We don't want him just hanging on. Like, and then obviously he picks up an injury from just overtrained or overplayed. And like, I mean, that's the biggest concern I would have for Arsenal. But like you said, Paul, the transfer thing it's not dead yet. The window's still there. But you'd be hoping that they would like the central defender. Buying him with no harm, I suppose they want to boost their defence. But you'd imagine from here on in, their focus must be very much at the other end of the field. Like.
Yeah, no, of course. And I think it also comes down as well. If we review what it was, say, like 2-3 years ago, and you look at, say, like the drop off what we had in the squad to what we've kind of got now, and he's worked very hard to try and claw back that deficit of quality in those kind of reserve players. I think you're not seeing that now. If we've got obviously players fully fit, that's obviously going to massively help as well. Because we want to see a fully fit Vieira. We want to see these players that have been affected with injuries.
Yeah,
Tommy Asu. You know what I mean?
Paul, a lot of people are saying with some justification that Vieira doesn't trust a lot of his, if you like, players that like Vieira. He very rarely plays Vieira, and he does look kind of lightweight. He looks as though he lacks self-belief, as does Reiss Nelson. And when you look back at the last season, he's got technically a shadow 11 behind his first 11, but an awful lot of those, when push comes to shove in the fire of battle, he backs away from playing them, and if they're only going to be there to use in League Cup games and stuff like that, then you're going to have poor old Saka knocking it out every match. And as Tim says, he's going to pick up an injury. I don't want to wish it on him, but he's going to get a fatigue-based injury, and then we really are in trouble, I mean, I quite like Reiss Nelson. I get a thing that I see in his face that he doesn't fully, believe in himself. And Arteta's very much what I call a cerebral coach. He gives them ideas, and he a bit like Pep Guardiola. They divide the pitch up into zones, and you can't have two players in a parallel line. And he's got all this sort of technical stuff going on. And Nelson reminds me of a bloke who just wants to go out and play.
Yeah.
And you either say you're on the wing, hug that touchline, but you can kind of go inside, but don't make it any more complicated. And sometimes I think Arteta loses them because he if the guy isn't ready to accept it, you won't get your best if he's there thinking, am I doing right here? You want him to play with a certain amount of freedom. There was one goal he scored. Do you remember? It was a winner in a match. Was it against Brighton or somebody? And it was actually a left foot shot from the edge of the area.
I remember that, yeah.
In the sort of last minute.
Yeah.
And I can remember thinking, at last he's taken that chance rather than go onto his right foot and then the defenders cover. And I want to see the players do that. I want to feel them to be empowered to sort of lash at the ball and just do it as they feel, rather than thinking, is the manager gonna be balling me out here? I don't get that vibe. I'm not anti Arteta at all, but I just think sometimes he kind of overcooks it a bit for certain players.
Yeah, and actually, sorry, go on.
That's all right. I was going to say to you, Mark. I was going to say, I think is this something to do with obviously being here, being a young manager, such fine margins, because again, there's a different brush whichever way you go, isn't it? At the end of the day, he could, against one team or a couple of teams where we suddenly think, okay, we can rotate, and he puts players in because they need a break, and then we don't get the points, and then straight away we've got another situation where suddenly, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. So if you make changes and they don't come off, then so be it. He's had a system, and he's obviously had very, very few injuries, relatively, through the season. Do you think that's something that pays on his mind, just on that side of regards to trust and trying to use more players?
Yeah, I think. Do you know what? I think it's down to the standard of the bench, if I'm being honest. And the only criticism that I could have for Arteta, is that he never played Eddie at all last season. There was games where Eddie was just on the bench, and then we're 1-0 down against Aston Villa at home, and with 8 minutes to go, he's pulling Eddie and Reiss Nelson off the bench to try and change the game around. And for me, that's ridiculous. I mean, how can you expect anyone at all to do anything in 8 minutes, especially when they don't have any game time in their legs? But it kind of shows where we are at and where the depth needs to also change. But one of the positives, because I'm very much Arteta and I love the job that he's done, but one of the biggest positives that I've got for Arteta is 2 years ago, we signed Jesus and Zinchenko, and they were the ceiling of Arsenal Football Club. They elevated us from 5th to 2nd. I would say now they're the floor of Arsenal Football Club. So in the 2 years, we've elevated that far up. We're outgrown players. So people like Reece Nelson, and I can't stand Fabio Vieira. I'm sorry. It's the one player. I just think it's taken him over 2 years to settle at the football club. Nobody should need that long. So for me, I would rather keep Reece than actually have Vieira there. But for me, I think that where we have to, for protection towards Saka, I want Jesus out there. I don't care if I've heard arguments he's on £275,000 a week. Let's play him through the middle. He gets paid regardless. Get him out on that right wing when Saka's needing a break, and that's your cover. And then bring me in a striker, a plan A or a plan B for Havertz. That's kind of where I'm at. We need to get the squad depth up, Paul. That's kind of where I'm at. And it's just that Reece Nelson, and sorry for the one with an answer, but Reece Nelson, Eddie Nketiah, Smith Rose, the Brown Hill End boys, etc. But we've outgrown them. We've outgrown them, and if you're not going to play them, then let's get some cash in and go and replace them. So that's kind of where I'm at, mate.
Yeah. No, I would say we obviously Nketiah's the buzz name this evening. I think. You hit the nail on the head. In the end of the day, the chances that he probably gets, he hasn't got the time to even try and do anything, and I think. Like I say, I think like Liam spoke about it as well on another show, and again, that kind of style of striker, and certainly that way of playing to a striker that Eddie Nketiah is, with regards to the pace, getting behind defenders, it's long gone now from the Premier League. The style of football, the way it's a lot more pragmatic. It's a lot more slow possession based. It was the other one was when we were linked with Vardy, and they were suddenly saying, "Oh yeah, get Vardy in," and you're suddenly thinking he would have done nothing at Arsenal. Totally be lost, because he wouldn't know where to run. He wouldn't know where to hold his run. He'd always be looking to go past, and the ball would come.
Yeah, that's the thing, Paul. It's like we press, and these players don't press. And that's where Eddie's fell down. Sorry, I didn't mean to come in, but it's the lack of pressing in that. I think he would be fine if he was I think that move to Marseille would have suited Eddie perfectly. I think he would have banged over there. I really think he would have banged. But maybe you're right. Maybe the Premier League is just not where he should be. But he certainly does not suit our style of play. And I'm not picking on the kid at all. But it's just we are a pressing side.
It's interesting. I suspect that Eddie Nketiah is a nice guy to sort of work with. He nods his head, he says yes, and he does everything Arteta asks him. I know that Trossard in the dressing room and on the training pitch is a tricky character to sort of handle. He's 28, so he's kind of been around. He's been in different clubs, worked for different managers. But he's our best forward currently, I think, in terms of scoring goals. But for some reason, Arteta doesn't like guys that are difficult to work with. He's got a vibe there about him.
There's a bit of it, like, Arteta is a very good manager, and Mark made a great point there, like, that he has increased them. He's made them better. Now, you'd have to say now, looking at it, they were a fairly low ebb when he got them. The base level was fairly low. But, like, whether he's actually going to be good enough to win a Premier League, you kind of develop your doubts. And I think some of it is, like, that stupid story there during the week about did he put these pickpockets. It was like reading a profile of Fagan from Oliver Twist. But it was like they had some sort of social gathering, and Arteta hired these professional pickpockets. Yeah. And I was thinking, like, that's crazy
what
stuff.
Is that?
What is it? And firstly, to me, it seems a bit of an ego trip, like, that I'm just so. And secondly, surely it must undermine your trusts as within the group, like, you know. Well, like, Jesus, he let them guys around that room. They man pick my pocket, that kind of thing. So you're thinking, Jesus, next week he'll be talking about loyalty and commitment inside the dressing room, like. So that was the kind of vibe I was getting from that. But no, look, as someone says, if Fagan was alive today, he wouldn't have to be impressed with pickpocket. He'd be doing an awful lot of corporate team bonding gigs. But that's the way of it. Like, it's kind of, it goes to that. But like, but Arteta, Arteta is a good coach, a good manager, and maybe he will get the job done. And there has to be a certain consideration that Man City are now considered possibly he's done what Fergie couldn't do, what whoever all the great managers through the years couldn't do. He won the 4 in a row, so it's kind of gone to the stage that maybe the opposition is just so strong. But I still think that last year there were signs of weakness in Man City, and I'm basing that on their performance against the other top 5 or 6 teams, that we were more successful than they were in these big matches, and that ultimately, if they can keep that level of performance up, and I saw your man Oscar Bob there, whose name I always find very entertaining to say, but anyway, I saw he's injured now, and Jeremy Doku, Man City have gone through. Were actually kind of planning to go through a bit of a transition year, and I'd say he could have been central to it. And if they start picking up injuries, you never know, it could open the window. And the window doesn't have to be that much. I think Arsenal have a really good chance. And like I said, if they start winning, early and put pressure on, and go back to the season when say they had it won, Joe, and then obviously the Saliba injury. But I do remember Thomas Partey that season, and I remember to me, he just looked not physically tired. He looked mentally drained, in matches. Yeah. He was fried. He just couldn't handle it anymore. And last year, he came in, let's say, with 10 matches to go, and he really added a bit of energy to the thing. So Joe, there's a certain kind of Arteta, you're going to get so much of him, and next thing he starts wearing people down. And I think maybe you need a squad and you need rotation for that to kind of overcome that. But I do agree with Mark. I wouldn't be. I have a question mark in 5 years' time. How will people judge Arteta? But I think as of now, for the last 3 or 4 seasons, they've been successful. They've always been better. Let's say the current season than they were the previous one. But ultimately, obviously, Joe, there's no rewards for that. It's about silverware. It kind of has to start winning something soon.
But Tim, I think this is a big season for Martinelli. I mean, he had a very average season last season. I know, is it Carlos Cuerta they have who's works on an individual basis with players. I've heard a lot of good things about him. I think Arteta said he was the best timer of a headed ball in the area.
Yeah.
So I would be looking for sort of him to really have a good season.
Yeah.
Maybe Arteta might even surprise us and play him up front, occasionally.
Yeah. That's a good call. That's actually a good call. See, if you were playing in cup games and you had a front line of, say, Jesus, Martinelli and Trossard, having Martinelli going through the middle, I'd like to see that. The one thing about Martinelli where he's where he lacks in his game is wingers could run and he have their head up looking, but Martinelli seems to have his head down. So he's got the pace, etc. And I'm not saying, I could give you reasons for why Martinelli had a bad season last season. I don't blame the guy even the slightest, and I'm not would never write this guy off at all. A lot of it is to do with, I call it a pod. So you've got your left back, you've got your left-sided 8, and then you've got Martinelli. Well, if you look at the previous season, we had Oleksandr Zinchenko playing every game. We had Xhaka there as well, and there was a link-up between all of them. They knew what they were doing. If you look at last season, we didn't have a steady left-back. We were putting players in and out there all the time. Yeah. Declan Rice was either playing an 8 or a 6, and it was his first season. And I think Martinelli suffered. And also, Arsenal tended to go down the right-hand side last season a lot. But in pre-season, especially the Lyon game, it was good to see we've switched that to the left. So I think you might actually get a lot more out of Martinelli this year. Don't write this kid off. He's a good kid, but it's a good call that you've made there. Because I have said it as well, and I haven't heard many people saying that, but I'd like to see him going through the middle. I really would.
I would.
No, we had this conversation the last time as well. I think with him going down the centre, and my thing was that again he hasn't got the physicality to kind of deal with big bustling kind of centre backs whacking into him. That's
Saying that, sorry, mate, I don't mean to knock you off, but if you go back to the Liverpool game at the Emirates last season, he budged into Van Dijk, who hit Alisson, and then it was an open goal and he tapped it in. So there is, he's got the pace to like just give a nudge.
Yeah, there's chaos. There can be chaos, but as I said, the majority of the time, obviously, you're probably going to see some defender coming flying through him, and we don't want to see him kind of being like crumpled up on the floor like a bit of paper. I'd like to see it. As I said, look at Chelsea away with that the goal down the centre and the run through, playing to his strengths, get him in the positions where he can kind of do stuff. But like I say, I've said that it is a big season. He has to show consistency, and I think you hit the nail on the head. Last season it was a bit, and it shows that we lost a huge amount of traction, I think, on that left hand side with Xhaka going, and I think it was telltale there. You could see it 100%, and that only comes down with the chemistry. Once the chemistry comes with all the players there, Rice playing there, eventually you're going to get that kind of chemistry and that buzz between them. But yeah, at times it seemed like that left hand side you're very isolated. I mean, that was there.
See, the thing is, Paul, I think his best game last season was the Everton game, the last game of the season. He was playing on the right. I thought that was actually his best game last season, and he was actually playing on the right. And again, you've got Odegaard and Ben White there, so they kind of knew what they were doing. So, and it kind of brought the best out of Martinelli for me. But you're absolutely right. It's a big season.
Arteta and his team must surely see this. That the triangles we were forming, the overloads on our right, were fine, but that left-hand side was itty bitsy. There was never a regular left back. There was never a regular left-sided midfield player. And of course, Martinelli, he used to play in his home place in Brazil. He used to play futsal, which is this really kind of fast twitch muscles. You know, he's good in tight spaces. You know, let's find a way this season of using him, because he's definitely got something there. He's definitely got pace. He's got a lot going for him, but somehow we haven't managed to sort of get the players around him that will bring out the best in him. You know.
So the big issue was Timber, sadly, wasn't it? And you suddenly thought that there was a blueprint there to kind of evolve and make that change. Whether or not that was mirroring what we do on the left, on the right, to alternate it around. Obviously, we never got to see that, so that was another kind of curveball that we had last season, which we navigated around. And for all our deficiencies on the left hand side, we put in a lot of unbelievable performance through the season. That's the only way you can look at it like that. And as I said, I think if we can keep him fit, I'll tell you what, the way they speak about him and how he is across the whole squad, he's going to be a massive player for us.
He looks a machine. He looks an absolute machine in pre-season. I know that he got injured, but the way that he's came back and the shape that he's in, he just looks unbelievable. And I've got a curveball with Timber as well. I actually think you could put him in the midfield. I really do. I think the guy would be able to do a job there for you in midfield. He inverts brilliantly. In the games that we did actually get to see him in, especially the Community Shield last year, I thought he was really good at inverting, and he'll be massive for us. He'll be absolutely massive for us this year.
Well, didn't Pep say when he watched us play Bayer Leverkusen, he said Arsenal had so many rotations and players were moving backwards, forwards, inside out, and so that's very difficult for a defence to handle. So, I mean, I don't think Pep was saying that because he's a friend of Arteta. So maybe Arteta's got his plan, you know, and we're all worried about Eddie Nketiah and getting a centre forward. But let's assume he's got his plan, you know, and there's no doubt about it. We've got a very tough start to the season, and if we're top after 4 or 5 games, then I'll be thinking, I mean, we will have played some cracking teams by then.
Yeah. We look at the games. So obviously Wolves, Villa away, Brighton at home, Tottenham away, and then Man City away.
That's a very tough start.
Finish up September with Leicester at home. But I mean, if we can navigate through that unbeaten, I'd be pretty happy.
Yeah,
I might even raise a glass. I might raise a glass of wine to that one. I think that's the key of not losing those away games. And yeah, it's a tough thing, but I think I'd rather that than have to go latter season, because I think that's what we've had previously, haven't we? Where we've had those kind of away games that we don't need. We want them at the Emirates. Those games, but yeah, it is a tough.
Well, maybe with Arteta's emphasis on buying defensive players, he's thinking of going back to the old 1-0 to the Arsenal, and turning what would be a 0-0 draw into a 1-0 win.
Yeah,
Yeah.
What do you think the midfield will be on Saturday, Paul?
I still think it's going to be. I think Partey's going to be probably the holder, with Rice on the left and Odegaard on the right hand side. And I still think it'll be Martinelli. I think Havertz will start up in the middle, and then Saka on the right. And Trossard come off the bench and probably go and score. After about 5 minutes. So that's how I see the team picking itself. I don't see any kind of changes at this minute. As I say, when Timber comes in, then it's going to be an interesting one. And as I say, this is where I think Zinchenko will be rotating around. What do you think? Is that your feelings?
I kind of feel like that they haven't created a whole lot of options. I think the only real like you said, all they bought is a defender really, and I presume they'll start off. Like, I mean, really, you can understand maybe as well that at the first game out of the season, everyone was kind of fresh, that they might go, get a good win. I have no faith. I won't say no faith, but I think Gary O'Neill, like I remember Frank Lampard at Chelsea, and I remember now, I'm not a big fan of Roy Keane, even though he's Irish, but he was very critical that the English press gave Frank Lampard a very free run, and he's losing matches at Chelsea. And I think Gary O'Neill is benefiting from being English now as well. That I think Wolves to me will be 16th, 17th, and maybe 18th. They'll be one of those three positions come the end of the year, because I like Kilman and Neto are big losses. Unless now it's the same transfer window for them as it is for Arsenal, so maybe they're going to they have big plans, but like they will need a good investment, particularly in defence. I mean, Neto, even though he's a brilliant player, he did miss a lot of matches through injury. So, but like your man, you have to have a strong kind of defensive spine, and Kilman kind of provided that for him. So I'm kind of interested to see how that develops as the year goes on.
I don't know if anybody's read about it, but there's something about there's some minor rule changes coming up this season. They won't allow what we had, where Arteta threw the ball to one of our players and then we scored a goal from a throw on. Oh, yeah. And I worry about, obviously, we score a lot of goals from set pieces, and we have old Benny Blanco there standing in front of the goalie. And I've heard that's going to be watched very carefully. That's a massive source of our goals. And the fact that he keeps on buying 6'2", 6'3", 6'4" centre backs means that our dead ball situations are always going to be favouring Arsenal.
Yeah. But I'd say I would fancy him to win. Would say with maybe 3-1 or something like that on Saturday, and get going with a strong enough team and just kick off the season, because as you say, Villa isn't going to be easy. Obviously, Spurs Who else? Man City. Is that the? I'm missing one of the fixtures there, Mike. But they're three of the starting kind of
Brighton.
They're big matches. Like, I mean, I remember that Villa match last year. Strangely enough, like people always say, "Oh, we could have." That was a match they were definitely deserved to be beaten. Like they were beaten by the better team that day. Like you were against Villa last year.
Oh yeah.
Villa came out after half time and they were playing a different game.
But
like
that was sandwiched between two. But we were playing.
Champions League.
Yeah.
But they were Villa.
I still think before the goals, I still think we played decent enough. I think we had a couple of chances, and I say had they have gone in, then potentially you never know. It's football. But I said it was that game against Fulham where we were winning after about 3 minutes, and then we've just dropped off the cliff. Literally, it was almost a Harry Enfield sketch with like the 1930s Arsenal, just like the players just like stand up against the women post, smoking a fag, having a cup of tea, they just down tools, like almost. It was so unlike Arsenal.
I think that was the first match after Christmas and all, wasn't it? And I don't know, they just didn't get back into the groove really for that game, you know.
Yeah. I think, I don't know. That's last year. Yeah, I'm done. I'm spent with that now. Yeah, I can't deal with that anymore.
I'm gonna predict a 4-0 win for Arsenal.
Hey. Sorry. I'll stay with my 3-1.
What are you saying, Mark?
I'm 4-0 as well.
Hey.
Nice 4-0 start to the season.
Paul, come on, you have to call it.
Yeah, I'm going 4-1.
4-1. There you go.
Yeah, cheers. I feel very conservative now, but I'll stay with us.
Yeah, I'll go 4-1. I think.
And just to move it away from Arsenal for a second, like, what's other people's opinion on Wolves? I think Wolves are not good. I think Wolves are like, I mean, we have a big thing here, and last year in our own thing, we were very pro Luton. We were hoping they'd stay up and I think Ipswich will fall into that kind of, everyone's favourite other team kind of bracket now. But I'd say Wolves would be, if it's the same three teams not to go down, I would fancy Wolves would be the one that might fill that gap, like, unless something.
There's always one that falls down the hole, isn't there? But then there's the times where the ones that are coming up are just as bad and just they've got no chance of doing anything. Yeah,
hard to
I don't know.
And you've got a good manager there in Gary O'Neill, and
you think so?
Well, he's got all this money from selling those two players. If he buys a couple of good players, you know, you never know.
Yeah.
But
it'll be interesting to see how it develops.
But I just think this is Arteta's big season now. We've knocked on the door very closely twice. Now you've got to do something to push it. Just 2 or 3 or 4 more points, and we'd have been league champions. You know,
amazing how close it was.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm just gonna do something. I'll hold on a second.
Well,
I'm on the cuff. Hold on. Predictions for the games. I'm going to set up a little prediction league.
Oh, very good.
At some point, it's something I've been working on. Man United.
Emerson Cozier in the chat is saying 3-0 to Arsenal.
3-0 to Arsenal. Well, it's ghosted me.
I would actually go with Emerson's lineup as well. That's the exact lineup that I would put in. I think I would drop Martinelli just because of confidence in bringing Trossard, but it's the only change it would make.
Yeah.
But that's just because of confidence, nothing against the player.
I was going to go back to obviously pre-season. Who was the shining light in the pre-season that you think might actually properly break through or certainly get game time?
Binary and Lewis Kelly, both of them. I thought both of them looked absolutely brilliant in pre-season.
I would definitely be giving some of our younger players a chance now, because we lost a guy to Man United who scored all the goals, you know. So he's got to let the young boys see a pathway through to the first team, you know. So absolutely, if you've got some young boys doing it, bring them in the last 10 or 15 minutes, give them blood them in the League Cup, you know, all those things. Yeah.
Namredi's actually been promoted to the first team squad. I've been watching the training. And he's actually there. So I can see it being a big season for him. I think he will get game time.
I think he's just got something about him, and there's no coincidence why he was brought on for that little cameo role. What was it, Old Trafford, wasn't it, for when he was 14 or 15?
Yeah. Remember that? Yeah.
He could come on, and it was. There's something about him and a directness that we don't really see. Someone who can kind of just turn and then run. So, yeah, big things for him. Again, you always want to see someone coming from the youth, and yeah, we've seen Saka. I want to see a couple more, but yeah, I think he's going to have a real good season, and let's hope that we stay in some of the cup competitions, because that's going to be massive as well for this rotation, as well as the extra games in the Champions League.
Yeah. But there's extra games this season. It's kind of
eight games in a league now. That's what it is. 4 at home, 4 away. So 2 extra. It's going to be. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and like that, like you say, that League Cup kind of those type of fixtures. So they're given. Like I remember. Martinelli now actually funny enough he could have a good games and bad games, but I do remember the first time I saw him in a he kind of caught my eye was in a League Cup game. It could have been against Dundalk or a UEFA Cup game against Dundalk.
Yeah.
He was playing one night as well. He was whatever the Europa League, whatever it's called now, and those kind of fringe tournaments that your peripheral, that you're getting a bit of game. It's good to kind of blood guys, and you get a look from in terms of in a less competitive setting. But there's no doubt Martinelli for like being Eddie Nketiah, I don't think probably really didn't have that killer instinct. No. Martinelli really did. He always looked like that. He looked sharp, right? He looked like that he was well able to go up through the gears to be competitive at a higher level, like, you know.
Yeah. People forget. I don't want to be down on Eddie Nketiah all the time, but people forget he was released by Chelsea. Oh, yeah. You know. So, but I think blooding young players. All our great Arsenal teams in past years have always had young players coming through. Right from the 70s, 71 team, which had Ray Kennedy and Charlie George and all those guys came through. You know. So all great teams have players that other teams aren't used to.
Yeah.
And young boys don't show fear, do they? They just you know.
Yeah, that's definitely a factor. Like, and like even though that team that's been named there was up there a few minutes ago, it's a strong Arsenal team, but that's very much the team that Arsenal played last year. You know, there's not too much difference really. So people like, so that's probably the team the Wolves are preparing to play, if you know what I mean. So someone with a bit of an X factor would obviously be very, very useful as well, just to kind of to add a bit of as you say, Paul, to add a bit of chaos.
And we got that Lewis Skelly coming through as well, who looks a decent player. So, you know, he's got lads that are knocking on the door.
Yeah, very much so.
I would definitely blood him.
Yeah,
you know, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, first week, I'm going to take your predictions for game week 1.
Oh yeah.
Good.
Yeah, you ready?
Yeah. Got 3-1.
So so I've done Arsenal's one. So Man United versus Fulham.
Oh, I think did Fulham beat 1-1 draw?
I think Man United are going to win that, maybe 2-0.
Okay.
I think 2-2.
Oh, very good.
Oh, very good. Yeah.
I've gone 2-1. What did you have, Terry?
2-0 Man United.
2-0. How's is Emerson still? Is he going to chuck his ones in? Chuck your scores in on the chat, Emerson.
The only one.
That's what it was. It was Brentford, not Old Trafford, was it?
Yeah, it was Brentford. Because it was, do you know what? I was going to correct you on that, and the reason I remember it, but Brentford beat us in the game beforehand. And even Tony put the tweet out saying nice kick about with the boys. And then Arsenal played them the next time. We brought one of our kids on to say nice kick about with the boys. It was a kind of petty. It was a bit petty from Arteta, to be honest, but it was great.
Yeah.
So can I just check here? Emerson Cozier, is he related, from what he said there, to Cozier Dewberry?
He was, yeah. Well, he is. Sorry, he was. He is. Yeah, he's got a nice move as well. So we wish him well. He's at Brighton, so yeah, game time and proper exposure. I think that'd be quite good. Yeah, good for him. He's gone 2-1. He's gone.
I'd love to see that. I would love to see that.
But they beat him last year. Fulham Palace both beat him last year.
Bogey team. Yeah.
Okay, next up. Ipswich, Liverpool.
Surely 2-0 Liverpool.
Absolutely. I'd agree with Tim there. Easy. 2-0 easy.
Even though it has the look of the Last Dance about it, but anyway. They'll surely get through this first jig anyway.
Yeah.
What are you thinking, Mark?
3-1 Liverpool.
I'm just gonna go for. Oh God, Ipswich. So they've just got the old
Matty Hutchison.
City reject now.
But leave that
as well.
They've got the number one English midfielder that didn't get picked.
Calvin Phillips.
Calvin Phillips.
And they've got Matty Hutchison as well.
Yeah.
That wasn't my real opinion. Yeah, it's not the best.
Nah.
Declan Rice is the best Irish midfielder.
Hey, put the green shirt on, Dan.
Declan. Actually, supposedly, Ryan himself had a bit of an altercation that time he came over, and they said it could have been a factor. It could have been a reason he said, I'm not going back there again.
I'm going 2-2.
Oh, for Liverpool Ipswich?
Yeah, I'm going.
Paul, actually, I hope you're right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm going. And, oh, God. Emerson's gone 4-0. He's gone proper tanking.
Right.
Yeah, he's probably right. Yeah, I just. So we've done Arsenal, Everton, Brighton.
Oh, Jake O'Brien to score in his debut, 1-0 to Everton.
Yeah, I've got a good mate who's an Everton supporter, so I'll have to say an Everton win, maybe 1 or 2-0. Yeah.
2-1 for me.
Which one? What one is it? 1 or 2-0? Come on.
Oh, for me.
You can't sit on the fence, Terry. Yeah, you can't sit on the fence.
I reckon. Do you know what I reckon? It'll be 2-1 to Everton.
2-1.
2-1.
Yeah, supposedly they'd have finished 12th if they hadn't the points deducted last year.
Yeah.
I think that the league is still after them for taking a few more points off them. But nobody touches Man City.
Oh, I tell you.
115 charges. Nobody touches them.
Next month is the start. What did you go for, Mark?
2-1 Everton.
Good, man.
2-1 Everton.
Come on, the Toffees.
I've gone 2-1 Brighton.
Oh, very good.
Seagulls.
Is that your man? Is he the who was the 32-year-old manager, 31-year-old manager? Is that Brighton?
Emerson's taking the mick now of us. He's even given scorers predictions now.
Emerson's on fire.
He's got 3-1 Brighton. Oh, there you go.
Don't get any extra points for the goal scorer.
No.
He's trying to
get a pat on the back.
Yeah.
So that's that. Next up, Newcastle, Southampton.
Surely 2-0 Newcastle.
absolutely definite Newcastle win. I don't particularly like them, but I could see them winning that. Isaac scoring a few times. Yeah, I'd see that a 3-0 win.
Yeah. It's amazing he's still there, you know.
So that,
well, Arsenal were after buying him, and it didn't happen or something. I don't know.
No. What do you say, Mark?
4-0 Newcastle.
Oh,
I think they'll hammer them.
Welcome to the Premier League.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Well, he's that close to the old border there.
Oh, yeah.
He has to call it right.
I'll wait for Emerson's. Next one is Forest versus Bournemouth.
Oh, geez.
Draw, I'd say.
No, I'm going to go for 2-1 Bournemouth.
I'd say a 1-1 draw.
That's a hard one, that one.
Yeah, I'm going 2-1 Bournemouth as well.
Yeah, I think 2-1.
Yeah, he's good on manager, that guy.
Yeah, he's good enough. Yeah.
He's
2-1
got around. He's
Bournemouth.
Northern Spanish, isn't he?
Yeah. Was he a Basque, is he?
Yeah, he's Basque as well, yeah.
Emerson's gone 3-0 Newcastle. What are you saying, Terry? Who's going to win? Bournemouth?
I reckon a draw. 1-1.
1-1. Coupon buster. Emerson, what have you got for us? West Ham versus Villa.
Oof, that is a
Villa.
hard one.
Villa win all day long. I reckon they'll win that 3-1.
3-1. I'm going to go for a draw. I predict no draw yet. I'll go for a draw here. 1-1 West Ham and Villa.
I've gone 3-2. Oh, you can't stop trying to show off. There's no scorers.
I'm going for
2-2 draw. He's gone for Emerson Forest.
Right, on the West Ham Villa, I'm going to go 2-1 West Ham. I think they've had the best transfer window out of every club.
Yeah.
Oh, they have him.
Unbelievable.
Full Creek or whatever his name is. Yeah. He was a very
David Moyes would be cursing.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, he would be.
David Moyes, 2 jobs. He's not been given the money, and then when he goes, they suddenly open the purse strings.
Yeah.
Oh,
what
unbelievable!
Kids?
He's gone.
He's calling it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was even kind of saying I couldn't believe when I heard of him coming to the Premier League. Like, it's another example of the money is so big here. Like that he go to West Ham. Yeah. He was the key component in the Alonso's team, wasn't he? Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, he was, yeah. No, my son and all his mates are big Arsenal fans, but they actually go over to sort of West Ham. It's easier to sort of get tickets. You can drive over there, park your car in a multi-story car park, and just go and see a game, even though they're all Gooners, like, you know.
I've vowed never to go back there again.
Did you?
After the Carabao Cup game, it was the worst experience I've ever had going to watch a football match. Totally, it was so far away. It was just absolute ridiculous.
Is that because of the running track?
Yes. And then they've got like this kind of like area which is kind of, I don't know what it is. It's just they've left it blank, so there's just like a massive concrete, and then everyone's then set right back in the stand. It's just like it's so bad. It's not great at all. Next game, Brentford versus Palace.
Oh, 3-0.
Wow.
I think Brentford are in trouble. They're only hanging on last year towards the end of it. And Palace. Now the only thing is, Mateta, that's his name. He's played a lot of football. Wasn't he in the semi-finals of the Olympic Games?
True.
Yeah. They bought a replacement. They bought a replacement for Tony, and apparently I've worked with a Brentford fan. Apparently the replacement they signed for him is now injured out until the new year. So That's quite good. So maybe he won't be actually going whatsoever. I think they'll probably try and keep him.
Well, I'll call that a Palace win, 2-0.
And Palace had that good.
Palace were a good team, man.
Yeah, they had a good centre back, a good centre midfielder there towards the end. Like, it wasn't all now Eze and Elise were the main, all right, with your man Mateta, but like they had a good enough old spine as well.
Yeah.
What do you say, Mark?
2-2.
2-2.
Yeah.
3-0 to Brentford.
Tim, 3-0.
Yeah, go on. I'm going to go 3-0 for.
I've gone 2-1 Brentford.
Oh.
What? Was your 3-0 to Brentford, or have you changed it?
I'm going to go with Palace.
What, 3-0 or 2-0?
Great, 2-0. You're after convincing me. I was a bit too overly ambitious there. Bring it back down to 2-0. Well, now, Watchcall is gone, of course. Elise or Eze and Mateta are still there, and I was impressed with them. And I like the manager.
Yeah.
Right, big game: Chelsea versus Man City.
Oh, actually, this was the Cole Palmer match last year, wasn't it? He really came alive. I'm going to go 2-2 draw.
He scored the penalty in that. He scored the last minute penalty in that game.
Yeah, that's right. That is, yeah.
You know, I hate to say it, but I can't see City losing that.
Yeah.
No, I can't see City. I reckon City will win that 2-1 or 3-1. I'll go 2-1.
I'm going to go for a draw 1-0.
I hope so.
I'm surprised there. Like, I mean, really, you'd have to say Chelsea with all the money and all the players. They're still kind of, I don't know. Like, Palmer's a brilliant player, and they have some good players, but they still don't look like. They still need a kind of 20-goal striker, I think. Of course, as you, Tim and Influence.
Terry, was yours 2-1 to City?
Yeah.
Okay, got that.
I don't want to
Just
see it, but unfortunately, I think they'll get. Man
City 4, Haaland 1. Oh.
The man will not Julian Alvarez.
He will be, but
but he was still only coming off the bench.
And then the final game to complete it: Leicester versus the RAF from up the road.
2-0.
A Spurs win, I'd say.
Spurs win, 2-0.
I'd call that a Spurs win. I'd agree with Tim. Yeah, maybe 1 or 2-0. Yeah.
And isn't there, just on a kind of a tangent, but isn't there a question mark of Leicester being deducted points as well, isn't there? Before they start?
Yeah. That will happen during the season.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, to me, it's going to be Leicester are nailed on to be relegated. And I think Southampton are going to struggle. That third one will be interesting, right? But I think it's going to be very like last season. There could be 2 teams gone very early on.
I think 2-0 Spurs as well, Paul.
Yeah, clean sweep. I've gone 2-1.
Yeah.
Sadly. Can't see anyway.
Your man will be making his debut with the...
he will. What's the name?
Dominic Solanke.
Yeah. You know, he's a Gooner.
Is he?
He's when he grew up, Arsenal was his team. You know, and I don't know why. If I was a manager and I'd be looking around, and if I had 2 players I was thinking of buying, and one was an Arsenal fan, I'd say, well, I'll get another 20% off him because he's playing for his dream team. You know, son. Yeah.
Tottenham win 2-1. He's gone for. That's it. That's completed. Right. That's game week 1 locked in. Let's see how many weeks this keeps up for. Hopefully, I last better than I do my fantasy football teams. I don't update them for about 6 weeks, and then suddenly realise why I've only got 2 points because I've got 9 injuries and stuff. So I
know it's good crack.
Never good. No, it's good. Thank you, lads, for coming over, because I say it's been good to chat with you. Some good stuff. And
nice
yeah.
I will say to any people listening in who've got any links with Ireland, myself and Tim are in a place called County Clare. You've probably heard of Shannon Airport, so that we're in the west of Ireland, and Clare are the current champions of Ireland.
To close it out with an Arsenal connection, we pretty much play in the Arsenal away kit of about 97, 98. You know, the old saffron blue stripe on the old saffron background. So
one of the guys who scored a goal and a few points in the final, Mark Rogers, when he was about 16, his dad came over to England and he said to me, my son would absolutely love to see an Arsenal match. So I gave him my season ticket and he sat there and enjoyed in the Upper West Stand an Arsenal match. There you go.
No, there we go.
Nice.
There you go.
That's all good. I'm due over in the Emerald Isles anyway. I'm off to Derrybeg over in Donegal.
Oh, very good.
So
And where are you flying into? Where are you flying into Derry? Yeah.
No, I'm just gonna live it up. I'm gonna go to Dublin first, and then do a little flight over to Dublin.
Do you have Irish links?
Donegal.
Have you got?
No, I'm just working. No, just working over there.
Nice.
But I am planning a visit to Bray because that is the surname. Yeah. I've been told.
Actually, I don't know if you follow boxing, but you know Katie Taylor, the woman boxer. She's from Bray.
No, okay. I've been told to go there.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Well, sorry,
Paul? I've been told to go there through a few of my Irish friends who I go to Arsenal with. So, it's going to be a visit soon. But lads, thank you very much.
That was good crack.
Yeah, we go on. We hopefully get 3 points, and hopefully, if all being well, we could end up the end of this weekend top of the league.
Yeah,
100%.
There you go. So
that was giving my predictions.
up the Arsenal, and we'll chat soon. Thank you guys. Cheers.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks, guys. Cheers.